Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats, weekly podcast episode number 41. I am your host, Wooden Boat Dan, a.k.a. Dan Matson, a.k.a. Dan the Man, and this is the world's very first podcast. Yes, the very first in the world, fully 110% dedicated to celebrating the art, craft, history, and tradition of wooden boats. Welcome to the show, folks. Good to have you. We're going to have fun again today. The featured segment today is an interview with Ron Downs and Fred Smith of the Smith Brothers Boat Shop on Samish Island in the state of Washington. This is an amazing interview and an amazing story. The Smith brothers have been in business for 50 years. Don Smith has passed on, but Fred has kept the reins or the fire burning, along with his son-in-law, Ron. So stick around and listen to that interview. They've built several thousand boats in that shop over the years, including prams, El Toros, Pelicans, and other assorted wooden vessels. And it's all about wood here on this show, about trees and water and how they intermingle. Please connect with me. You can do that through email, dan@hookedonwoodenboats.com. You can subscribe to my e-news list if you go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. You can write comments on my blog at hookedonwoodenboats.com. And by the way, I write a blog each week along with the podcast, and I have pictures and information and writing and links and so on related to the podcast each week. So please check it out if you haven't done so. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest as Wooden Boat Dan. You can call my voicemail feedback hotline at 424-261-2360. And you can subscribe to my podcast so it's automatically in your sent to your mobile device or your computer. If you go to iTunes, podcast section, and search for Hooked on Wooden Boats, you can subscribe there. And if you enjoy the show, please leave me a review. Right now we've got 16 5-star reviews, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to get that number up, so please check it out. Well, this is a good week for me in several respects. I was off work last Friday, and it was a rainy day, but I spent 3 or 4 hours working on my canoe. And boy, it takes a lot of time to basically machine gunnels. I started out with some kind of rough pieces of what I believe to be, what's the mahogany called? That's the really pretty stuff. Honduran mahogany. Started off with some kind of rough pieces of that. So I ran it through my planer. Got it down to about 7/8 of an inch, and then I ripped off some pieces, and then I had to scarf it, try to match up the lay of the wood so that if it was concave on one side, that the scarfed portion was also concave a little bit. So I spent a total of, 5 or 6 hours this weekend just getting 4 gunnels, in whales and out whales, or innels and outles, I guess you could call them, prepped for the boat, and I got them cut and temporarily in position now. So the next thing is to epoxy those in place. So the boat's really taken shape, but I'm going to miss another deadline. My July 5th deadline. It ain't going to happen, folks. Trust me. Oh my goodness. Has anybody out there in wooden boat land ever missed a deadline? Or no, should I ask, has anybody ever made a deadline in building a wooden boat? Wow, it takes time. I always underestimate But I will beat the build time for my last few boats. My first boat was a dory, which I kind of built while we were raising 5 kids and I was working full-time. And I spent quite a few weekends and evenings, not every one, and I'd have breaks, but probably over a 5-year period on that boat. And my last skin-on-frame kayak, which, by the way, I just sold, that boat I probably took me 2 years to finish it. You kind of get into the project, then you put it on hold, and you get busy doing other stuff. But that's another story. So anyway, this boat, so my new projected goal is the end of July. Part of the reason I'm saying that is once I get in and I start actually sanding the epoxy on my lap stitch joints, I have a love-hate relationship with epoxy. I love it because it's so hard and impermeable and strong and it works so great. But I hate it because it's a pain to sand. Stuff is so stinking hard and it throws out that dust and you got to wear a mask, and if you have glasses on they steam up. But I'm not going to complain. I'm glad I have it, but that does take time. So anyway, so that's where I'm at on the canoe. And I was going to back up for a minute. I did sell my skin-on-frame kayak, which I finished building about 3 years ago, and it was kind of an experimental boat. There's a picture on my website under the My Boats tab. What I did is I took a couple of skin-on-frame books, one by Morris, and let's see, the other one, Building a Greenland Kayak and Skin-on-Frame Kayaks, and one's by Cunningham. And I kind of used those two, and I wanted to build a really small boat, so I built this 12-foot skin-on-frame kayak, and I weigh 210 pounds, I'll admit it, not kilograms, pounds. And boy, that thing, I could barely keep it upright. But somebody that was about 120, 110 pounds, it worked out real well. It was a real pretty little boat. So I used it a handful of times, capsized myself, have my shins scraping as I'm trying to get out of the hatch. But anyway, so I put it up on Craigslist. I had it there for a while. And then I got a call from a guy on Whidbey Island, says, "Hey, I saw your kayak. I'd like to come look at it." So I said, "Well, are you an experienced paddler? Because this is not a boat for the faint of heart." And he says, "Yeah, I am an experienced paddler, and but by the way, I'm probably just going to buy it for decoration in my home." So anyway, he came over and he bought the boat, and he's going to hang it up in his house because he doesn't have a West Greenland kayak on display. He's got several other types of kayaks, so he's hanging it in his house. So that's a good place for it. Safe out of the water. And the other fun thing is the Greenland paddle that I carved out of a chunk of cedar for that boat turned out really nice. He didn't need the paddle since he's not going to paddle it. And so I reduced the price a little bit and got to keep the paddle, which means I won't have to carve one for my canoe. Because on my canoe I'll be sitting in the bottom of the boat paddling like a kayak. So anyway, that's the long and short story there of the kayak. Let's see what else is going on. My new graphic arts banner is done, so that's on my website now. I hope you like that. I think it's pretty cool, and I do have on my list still to get some artwork uploaded to an outfit called Cafe Press so that you could go to my website and order a hat or a t-shirt or something like that with my logo on it, hookedonwoodenboats.com. So I'd love some feedback on that if you get time. The other thing I wanted to mention is my buddy Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man who taught me how to podcast last year. I took his course called Podcasting A to Z. It's an online class that goes over a 1-month period. You have personal access to Cliff. He takes you through all these training videos and materials. There's an online forum. You can ask questions anytime. It's a great setup. He really gets you to where you need to be. And he's going to have another class here starting July 9th for 4 weeks. And if you're interested in all of podcasting, I'd highly recommend it. And if you sign up for that class and you use the discount code BOATS, then you get a $100 discount off the class. I think the class is $9.95, I believe. So you get a $100 discount if you use that. And like I say, there's nobody better than Cliff, as far as I'm concerned, that understands how to podcast. He teaches you the technical part. He helps you kind of decide really what your purpose is and all that stuff. So it's really a great thing. So I would highly recommend it. And I'm going to put a link on my website, or you can go to podcastanswerman.com. And like I say, use the discount code BOATS, B-O-A-T-S, and you get a little discount there. Well, the other news here is I am thinking about writing my first ebook and calling it Building Your First Wooden Boat. And in that book, I would talk about all kinds of things, basically how to... The purpose of the book would be some tips and tricks and how to get a wooden boat built, and kind of doing the planning part of it, deciding what kind of boat you want to build, how much you can afford, how long it's going to take, what kind of construction method you should use. Should it be lap strake? Should it be plank on frame? Should it be carvel planked? Should it be cold molded? Should it be stitch and glue? What kind of epoxy? What kind of finish? Should you buy a kit or build it from scratch? Should you design your own or buy plans? Lots of questions. So I'm thinking about writing that ebook. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. Let me know what you think about that, if that would be something you might be interested in picking up at some point. Probably sell it for just a few bucks on my website and hope to generate some interest there. Okay, we're going to move on now to the interview. Oh, actually, I wanted to announce some upcoming events here. Wooden Boat Show, Mystic Seaport, Connecticut starts in a couple days. It actually starts June 29th, 2012 through July 1st. And then the Center for Boats, Wooden Boat Festival is this June 30th to July 4th in Seattle. That's going to be a really fun show. I'm going to actually go down there with my son Josh, and we're going to do some interviews and shoot some videos. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. The Scamp Boat's going to be there, I believe, and hopefully a bunch of people that I can interview. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then the Scamp class, where you can build your own Scamp, along with Howard Rice, John Welsford, Scott Jones, and some other folks, August 6th through the 17th, 2012. If you're interested in that, contact the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building. And if you have events you'd like me to post on my website, email them to me, and if they fit with what I'm doing here, I'll be glad to put them on the website. Okay, we're going to move on to the interview. This is with Ron Downs and Fred Smith. Ron is Fred's son-in-law, and he's been in business with Fred for about 10 years. And Fred, with his brother Don, started this business in 1962, building 8, 10, and 12-foot prams, and using plans that Fred purchased for 25 cents from US Plywood. And he's still got the original mold that he built 50 years ago in his shop. And I'm going to have some pictures online and some links to some really cool stuff about the Smith Brothers Boat Shop. All right, we're going to talk to Ron and Fred now. Okay, it is June 25th, 2012, and I'm standing at the Smith Brothers Boat Shop on Samish Island in the state of Washington. And I'm with Fred Smith and his partner, Ron Downs. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here today, Fred.
Well, it's nice that you're here.
Yeah. So you got a beautiful spot here. What year did you move to this place?
I moved here in 1945.
Wow.
And but we didn't start the business till 1962.
I see. Okay. Do you mind me asking what you paid for the house in 1945?
Well, I actually inherited it. It's been in my family since back in the 30s.
Oh, is that right? Wow. And you're right on the water here, aren't you? Looking across at what's the island do you look across to there?
Guimas Island is the main one, and then we got the Anacortes oil refineries in the background over there.
I see. Yeah. So give me a little background. When you were a kid, did you lived in Mount Vernon? Is that right?
Right. I went through school in Mount Vernon, through high school, and graduated in 1945.
1945. Yeah.
And after I graduated, my home became out here.
I see. Okay.
My parents moved out here, and
I see.
I went directly in the service at that time.
Okay.
In the Merchant Marine.
Oh wow. Okay. How long were you in the service?
2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
The war ended.
Oh.
I wanted to get back home.
I don't blame you. So what did you do after that then?
Well, there was a large filbert farm here on Samish Island. It had 80 acres of filberts. And I went to work there. I started helping them plant trees, and within 5 years I was manager of the place.
Really?
And I stayed there 17 years, and brought me up to 1962.
Okay, so what happened in 62 then?
I wanted to go boating, and I couldn't get any time off.
Oh, really?
So I just switched businesses. I got into the boating business. Yeah. I started out by designing and building my own 24-foot catamaran. Because as you see, we have mud flats out here, and I wanted a boat that could anchor in close. And
yeah, okay.
And I wanted to be able to take my whole family cruising.
Yeah,
and the catamaran, we had to have a dinghy on it, and that got a little 8-foot dinghy for 25 sets of plans, and that dinghy was very attractive to other neighbors for a boat to get in and out to their bigger boats, and we was selling them for like $80 a piece at that time. But we thought that was a lot easier than working up in the nut orchard.
So you built the catamaran first,
right?
A 24-foot catamaran.
Yeah. Then
you needed a dinghy for it. So
dinghy. Then the neighbors were starting to want them, and looked like a good way to make a living or make some side money. So we started contacting some sports stores. In the spring, it was for fishing. In the fall, the duck hunters. And then right along in '62 is when the fiberglass was coming in. Well, there's a lot of people still would rather have wood than they would glass.
Right, exactly.
And
yeah.
So it's just kept us going. But it was slow, and we got into the sailboat business, and we never caught up there for 40 years. We had orders standing.
Really?
We never caught up.
Wow. So when you got the plans for that first dinghy from US Plywood for 25 cents.
Right, in Anacortes. So 2 sheets of plywood would build the boat, and that was their way of selling plywood.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. So was that like half-inch plywood?
No, quarter-inch fir plywood.
Quarter-inch fir plywood. Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you still build that boat then today?
Yeah, we still build it. And we've extended the jig where we build a 10-foot model also.
Yeah, and I took some pictures of that jig in there that you've had for over 50 years, or 50 years this year, I guess, huh?
Right.
Right, yeah. So then, so you were building the dinghies, and then you got into Pelicans at some point.
Yeah, that was part of the sailboat business. We went to sailboats mainly. We wanted a boat that our big boat had to be taken out of the water in the winter. We had no good anchorage or storage.
Oh, okay.
And we wanted a boat we could take in and out of water. We really liked sailing. We'd never sailed before. Mm-hmm. And the Pelican fit that purpose. So
tell us what a Pelican is for people that don't know.
Well, it's a 12-foot sailboat. It's a lug rig boat. It's not a gaff. It's got a kind of a square sail.
Okay, single sail.
Yeah, a lug and a boom.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Or a gaff and a boom.
Yeah,
but it's that was a brand new design itself. We built boat number 38 of the class.
Really,
and we started brand new too, and it didn't take off real fast until we got a few built and started running cruises with them, because we can cruise. We've been corrupt in Nanaimo camping on the island. It's a great camping boat.
Oh, okay.
It's flat bottom. You can come right up on the beach, and you can carry about everything you want camping.
Yeah, it's a pram bow too, right? So it's got a real wide beam.
Mm-hmm. 6 foot wide and 12 foot long.
Wow, 6 by 12. Yeah. So how did you pick that boat to build?
Well, it looked something that we could handle and serve our purpose here for winter sailing.
I see. Yeah.
And then after the first couple of years, we only sold 4 a year, and so with advice from other sailors, they suggested we build El Toro sailboats.
Okay.
And that's when we got busy for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
We built over 2,000 El Toros alone.
Wow. So tell me what an El Toro is.
Well, it's another 8-foot model. It's a cat rig sail, just one sail. Mm-hmm. It's great for junior programs of teaching sailing, and the yacht clubs bought groups of them. They'd be turning by 6 or 8 at a time. Mm-hmm. And even the Seattle Parks Department kept 30 of them on Green Lake for.
Oh, really? Those are boats you built, huh?
Yeah. Then they got some park advisor down there that thought anybody in a sailboat was going to get hit on the head and drown, and he didn't allow sailboats on the lake anymore.
Oh, really? Oh, bummer.
So
yeah. So you built a couple thousand of those,
yeah,
huh?
Right. Yeah, there was both of our boats were California designed.
Okay.
The Pelican come right out of the Bay Area. It's called the San Francisco Pelican.
Yeah.
And the El Toro was also a very popular boat down there. Mm-hmm. Up in Canada, they had a very similar boat. They called the Sabot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was very little difference in them. But in fact, they could sail side by side, and they had no real disadvantage or advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so for a good 20 years, we took a load every month to California. We had a trailer between the trailer and truck. We could haul between 12 to 14 boats down.
Really? Wow. That was you and your brother, John.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a vacation. But we'd leave here, load up and leave Thursday, and get travel down Friday, and deliver boat Saturday, and come home Sunday, and back to work in the shop on Monday.
Really?
And most of them delivered around the San Jose area.
Yeah. So how much did those boats sell for at that time, Fred?
Around $200.
$200.
Yeah, and we'd have them painted or with sails, and a lot of them had their own sail maker. And it was quite an option. I don't know if I got an old brochure out or not. But,
oh.
Well, they got up to near $1,000 too when they completed
Okay.
with the sails and hardware.
Yeah. Did you sell them with the sails and hardware then?
Yeah, it was any way they wanted them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you make the booms and masts and so on?
Yeah, we made all the wooden parts. Yeah.
Did you? What'd you make the masts and booms out of?
Spruce. It got us going on spruce lumber, and we still use it framing our little prams now.
Yeah. Use solid spruce spars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were solid.
Yeah. So before the days of epoxy, Fred, what did you use to glue your boats up?
Well, we still use it. We use weldwood plastic resin glue.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
The epoxy is just a coating of the wood.
Oh, I see.
Seals it up. And we use polyester resin with cloth on the bottoms on the boats that wanted them. It does make the boat heavier, but it makes it a lot tougher, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now we use the epoxy resin.
Right. So over the years, you must have sold to some pretty interesting people that you met.
Well, yeah, it was all sold to individuals. We never retailed them or wholesaled them out. And
yeah.
So every time we sold a boat, we made a new friend.
Oh, really?
I got a lot of friends out there.
Yeah. Any of those people come to mind that were very interesting or stand out?
Not right offhand, no.
Yeah. So did any of those boats go overseas, Fred?
We shipped
countries?
One boat, one Pelican to Oslo, Sweden, or Norway. Oslo, Norway, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We had to crate it and get it to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And from there on, he provided his own transportation. I think it went by railroad to New York and then by ship across.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Now, are you still building El Toros now?
No,
okay.
We're just the prams only now.
Okay. So when did you...
I'm turning 85 years old this summer.
Are you really?
I want to retire.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm 57 and I'd like to retire, so... Oh, my goodness. So when did you stop building the Pelicans and the El Toros?
About 6 years ago? 7? Yeah.
About 10 years.
No, right after Ron come in to help me out.
Okay.
It's been 9 years, 10 years.
9 or 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So, boy, these are beautiful boats here. So you're building a few boats a year now, and kind of taking it easy a little bit. It sounds like.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Here it is, end of June, and we don't plan on going back to work now until October.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Now you've got a 50th year event coming up here. Tell me about that, Fred.
Well, it's 50 years of building boats. We started in 1962 as a business. So we did build our own boat before that. Actually, the pram was 3 years ahead of that.
Oh.
We didn't. We've had a business license for that long.
Really?
And at the Pelicans have formed a sailing club, and they're a pretty active group. They have races every other week all winter, and then we cruise during the summer months.
And now that's locally here?
Yeah, that's local here. And the club is putting on the regatta. They just asked
okay.
permission to do it here. They wanted to do it like we used to do it.
Oh, I see.
We did it for 26 years. We had regattas here. And
really?
Yeah, we had 99 boats out on the water one summer.
Oh, my goodness.
All boats that I had built.
Really? Wow.
And we're trying to round up as much as the old people we can and see if we can get them back here. But I'm figuring if we get 30 boats here, we'll have a real nice gathering.
Exactly. And what's the dates of that?
It'll be the 11th and 12th of August.
11th and 12th of August.
This year. Yes.
And if somebody that's listening is interested in bringing their boat,
if they have an El Toro or Pelican, they're welcome to come and say
yes. And how would they get more information about that?
By contacting you.
By contacting me? That's fine. Call me. Or email. I'll pass on the information to you.
No, I don't have a computer. I'm not in
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so is this the Pelican Club, is that out of Anacortes? Or where are they located?
Well, whoever. I don't know. We're scattered all over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
kind of the Puget Sound, Seattle area type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's the secret to building a good boat, Fred? You've been doing this for a while.
Good lumber. And it's
really?
Which is very difficult to come by nowadays.
Yeah, so good lumber.
Yeah, we don't even use fir plywood anymore because after the owl took over the old growth trees, there's not good there's no boat material available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the spruce lumber is getting pretty hard to come by.
Is it? Yeah. So any tips for somebody that's going to build their first wooden boat?
Have lots of time.
How much time do you guys put into these 8-foot prams?
Well, it takes it would push us to do one complete in a week, being the drying time of the epoxy, because they all get epoxy. That's not an option. We feel it's so necessary to treat the wood properly that we just made it part of the boat. They don't have a choice.
Right. Yeah. So this boat here is this 10 feet?
This is 10 foot.
It's a 10-footer, and how much do you sell these for, Fred?
This without the hardware and paint, this would go around $850.
$850. A beautiful boat.
It has the option. The inside is an option that's been added on here. That's $85 to have the inside epoxied.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
It's the outside we try to protect. Most of them are stored upside down.
Yeah, right. How much does this boat weigh approximately?
About 70 pounds.
Wow.
It's quite light for a 10-foot boat.
Yeah, that's very light. And if somebody is interested in one of these, is there a phone number they could call to talk to somebody about that? Would that be Ron's number?
Yes.
Ron, you mind giving me that number?
Not a bit. It's 360-766-7667.
Okay, you want to say that one more time for him?
360-766-7667.
Okay, very good. So if you're interested in 8, 10, and 12 foot?
No, 12, just 8 and 10.
8 and 10 foot pram that are beautiful they start about $800, and these are the guys to call because these are gorgeous boats. And that seems like a real bargain because I'm building a boat right now. It's a 12-foot canoe, and I'm going to have at least $500 in materials in it. So,
well, in the last Kumi that we were able to find that for 10-foot boats came out of Maine.
Oh, is that right?
There wasn't anything on the West Coast that we could find. They were 10-foot. 8-foot.
Oh, that's
material
you have to buy 10-foot
we would have
sheets.
to scarf everything.
Yeah.
So in fact, one of our customers found it for us.
Really?
And they wanted a boat so bad, and I says, well, we'll have to scarf it, to be able to build it.
Yeah.
He says, well, I'm going to make some calls. And he ended up in Maine and we made a connection with them, and
wow.
That's where we got it.
Very cool.
It's scarce.
Very cool. Now, are you using the British Standard 1088
Yes.
stuff? The good stuff, right?
Yep, the good stuff.
Yeah, because I know there's stuff out there that's not quite as good a quality, that's cheaper, but this stuff you got to be careful, don't you?
Yeah. Really, this is top notch, best we could find.
Yeah.
That's what we use.
Right. So how did you get into this, Ron? You told me earlier you've been doing this for about 10 years with Fred.
Yeah. Fred's brother Don was ready to retire about 10 years ago. And Fred wasn't. He wanted to continue building because you were only 76 at the time. He was way too young to retire. So I was retired at the time, just retired. And I said, well, Fred, just if you can teach me how, it'll be a challenge. I said, I'll be happy to work with you. So that's how I got into it. And I've been building with Fred for about 10 years now.
Really?
And I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
It's been really fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's a great experience working with the wood and the unique way that he builds them. It's really unique. Not everybody can do it. It takes more than just a jig to build a boat.
Right. Yeah. What are some of the unique features of these boats that we're looking at right here? Anything stand out?
Well, they're not a flat bottom boat. They row. They stay right on top of the water. They row really, really nice. Everybody that buys them can't believe how effortless it takes to row one of these.
Yeah, because they've got a pretty good rocker to the bottom.
Real good rocker, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, real good rocker. In fact, occasionally, when I first started, if we used some of that fir plywood, it would crack when we started.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, especially out in the bow area and stuff.
Yeah.
And but the Okumi doesn't.
Now, is this 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch Okumi?
6 mil.
6 millimeter. Okay.
Close to 1/4 inch.
Closer to 1/4 inch. Yeah.
And the rails are mahogany. And we put runners on the bottom, all oak runners.
Oh, okay.
To protect the bottom.
Yeah.
Plus the bottoms are all glassed.
Okay.
Epoxy. All the seams are glassed and epoxy.
That makes them super strong, doesn't
Very
it?
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're real durable boats. Isn't there like boats out there that have been out there like 40 years? Fred?
There's boats that old around themselves.
Is there really?
They're still using them.
Yeah. So this is a pretty beamy boat too. What's the beam on this? Approximately, Ron?
Is it 55 inches?
Yeah, 55.
55 inches.
So you could stand in that boat, and it's real stable to stand in.
Absolutely. That's why the fly fishermen really love them, because they can stand. Even the 8-footers will stand in them, and they're very comfortable fishing out of them standing.
Do any guys put electric trolling motors on these? Or?
Yeah, we can't tell them they can, but some do.
Yeah.
But, they row so easy.
Yeah, you don't really need it, do you?
You don't really need it. You really don't.
Yeah. So I'm just noticing the bottom of this boat has some curve side to side, too, a little bit.
Oh, it does a lot. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, in addition to the rocker of the boat.
Right. Yeah, sure does.
Right in the middle section is dead flat across it.
But this is the original design that you bought from US Plywood, Fred.
Yes, exactly.
Really?
The 8 and 10 footer both use the same bow pattern.
Okay. Interesting. Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me today. And Ron, any parting comments for people that might be listening to this?
Well, just what Fred has done in the wood business is amazing. He's been building the boats for 50 years, and I just feel really lucky that I've been able to be a small part of it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And like Fred says, the customers are so friendly to us. They enjoy it, and with any little bit of luck, if Fred's done some smoked salmon, they'll take some home with them.
Oh, is that
right? That's a bonus. Yeah, if he's been smoking salmon.
I've heard rumors about that.
Yeah, he's real famous for that.
Cool.
So I just feel lucky to have an opportunity to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
To build boats.
Very
absolutely.
Cool. So do you get out on the water yourself, Ron?
Oh, yeah.
You have a little boat?
Yeah,
You have one of these prams? Or?
Yep. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Go right out here in the bay?
Absolutely.
Poke around, huh?
Yep. Absolutely
Very
do.
cool. Very cool. How about you, Fred? You get out on the water anymore?
Oh, I still go camping.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, yes.
Where do you like to go?
Oh, well, over to Cypress Island.
Okay.
We got a beach called Pelican Beach over there.
Oh, okay.
I got the name of State Park in my career.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was named after the boat, not after the bird. And
yeah.
We was camping there before the state ever made a park. And so,
really?
And
yeah.
When they decided it was a good camping area, we was already using it, and it come to naming it. We had a name already tacked on a tree there because the kayaks was starting to come around, and we was putting our name on the beach,
staking out your territory.
Right?
Huh? Yeah,
it's worked out real well.
Yeah, very cool. So do you sail a boat over there then and camp?
Right. Yep.
You have a Pelican now yourself?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes.
Okay. I might have to look at that after this interview if it's around.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to see that boat. So, well, anything else you want to say, Fred?
Well, I don't think so. It's been a great life.
Yeah.
And I'd do it all again if I had a chance.
Good for you. Yeah, I've noticed people that make wooden boats are pretty relaxed. You seem to fit in that mold pretty well. Having a lot of fun every day at work, right?
Yeah, well, that was 17 years in the nut farm. Learned me how to exist building boats.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of money in boat building. We've had a lot of competitors try to build El Toros and whatnot, and they all went broke at it. They couldn't make a living like they wanted to have.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, very cool. Well, thanks again for your time, guys. And like I say, you'll be famous within days of this podcast being published. So you're going to start getting orders like crazy. Thanks for joining me today. I'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ron and Fred, for your great hospitality and for doing the interview. I didn't mention before, but I called Fred at about 11:30 in the morning on Monday. He didn't know who I was, or he'd heard of me, but I'd never talked to him before, and set up an interview. And 45 minutes later, I was over at his house on Samish Island, right on the water, doing the interview. And it's interesting because their shop is only 15 or 20 minutes from where I work in Burlington, Washington. So that's pretty cool. And I'm hoping to go out there this summer, August 11th and 12th, for part of the regatta. They expect about 30 Pelicans and El Toros to show up, and Fred's going to probably smoke some of his famous salmon. And if you have any interest in attending that, I'm going to put the phone number for Ron on the website, so you can give Ron a call. And actually, I'll give you the number here, 360-766-7667. 360-766-7667. If you're interested in attending that regatta, you can contact Ron at that number, or email him at downs, D-O-W-N-S, at clear.net. That's downs at clear.net. Thanks again, guys. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by going to my website, to the resources page, clicking on any Amazon product on the page, going to Amazon and making a purchase of anything on Amazon. I get paid a small commission if you do that. The other way is if you go to my website, to the home page, and you click on the Jamestown Distributors banner, that takes you to their website where they've got a lot of marine and boat building supplies. If you purchase anything there, I get paid a small commission also. And if you'd like to go to iTunes and leave a review, as I mentioned before, I would really appreciate that. Well, once again, it's been fun in wooden boat land, and hope you guys had a great week, and get out on the water, work on your boat, varnish your boat, go rent a wooden boat, just get out on the water in a piece of wood, and you'll have a good week. So, Wooden Boat Dan, over and out. Have a great week. Keep the sunny side up and the barnacled side down. We'll catch you next week. Thanks.